Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wayne Blue. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast after the Raptors lose on the road 130 to 120 against the Philadelphia 76ers. Raptors lose their 4-game win streak and they drop to 5-5 on the season. This was always going to be a really tough game. You were playing the second half of back-to-back on the road, both games. Last game was really hard fought. It wasn't an easy game to come back and beat the Hawks like that. Against a Sixers team that had been rested for the last 2 days, and of course rest is especially useful for a team like the Sixers, who obviously have Joel Embiid, long time Raptors antagonist Joel Embiid, who was able to play in this one and actually I believe played a season high in minutes. And of course with Embiid out there, he's always going to hurt you, but especially with the Raptors shorthanded in the front court, the Raptors resting Jakob Poeltl on the second half of back-to-back on account of his bad back spasms. You'll go into this game shorthanded. And so, to be honest, like I thought it was a good effort. I think especially by the Raptors to stay close. At one point, it was a 3-point game with about 2 minutes left. You were right there. Like, not to sound like Matt Devlin, but they actually were right there. And, of course, credit to the Sixers for locking in and closing strong. And B made a couple plays. To be honest, VJ Edgecombe made a whole bunch of plays. The rookie for the Sixers, a third overall pick, had moments where he looked like he was just straight up teleporting. Like there was one play on the fast break where he got it, faked baseline, and then like did a jump stop to the middle, and then went up for a layup. And I swear to God, this guy teleported. Like this guy legit teleported like 3 meters sideways somehow and got in for a layup. But he was awesome down the stretch. And of course, Trendon Watford, which is kind of amazing. But Trendon Watford had just the game of his life: 12 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. Kind of looked like a Josh Hart clone out there, basically. And he hurt the Raptors in a huge way. But to be honest, like pretty much everybody for the Sixers played great. I mean, I don't even have to tell you that Tyrese Maxey hurt the Raptors. This guy is an all-time Raptor killer, and he's leading the NBA in scoring. So like all of that's right there. But having said that, though, the Raptors were in this game, and quite frankly, there were a couple of nice moments by the team to counterpunch what the Sixers did. Actually, the Raptors even jumped out to an early lead. The Raptors had I think their best first quarter of the season. They had 43 points in the first quarter. They were up 43 to 33 at the end of the first. The defense was just like kind of an issue from the start of the game. Obviously Maxey and Embiid, you don't have good matchups for them. Raptors haven't had good matchups for them ever, basically, outside of Marc Gasol for Embiid. So like, that's kind of the usual. Any longtime Raptor fan has seen that movie before. But Raps were taking it to the Sixers though. Like they were hitting a whole bunch of threes. At one point, the Raptors were like 9 of 11 from 3. Immanuel quickly knocked down 3 quick threes right away. He had a nice game. But like everybody was coming in and knocking down 3. Scottie was knocking down the 3 from the top. Jamal Shed, CMB knocked down his, 1 try from 3 as well. So a lot of that was just hot 3-point shooting, and you were hoping that, okay, maybe, you see the Sixers fade. Because the Sixers, they have been scuffling. Like they've dropped a couple games, recently, and I know they got off to a great start, but they had been losing a little bit. Some of that obviously has to do with the fact that their team is still very inconsistent right now, with Embiid only playing half the time, and then when he comes in and plays, he only plays half the game because he's on a minutes restriction. So there's naturally inconsistencies there, and of course we're relying on a really hot start from VJ Edgecombe, who has since cooled off a little bit. So that's going to happen. But in any case, like I give the Raptors a lot of credit for like fighting and like battling uphill. Like that's what it was the entire time. And I think there were certainly moments of frustration in this game. The Raptors, especially in that second half, kept allowing the Sixers to push ahead, build to the double digits, and the Raptors would like fight like crazy to cut it close, and then they would lose the momentum, and then they would it was just this repeated like Sisyphean process of just trying to push this boulder up the hill. And there were some real moments of frustration, like Scottie got into foul trouble, which I mean he's guarding Embiid, what do you expect, right? So Scottie got into foul trouble. More concerningly, he was holding his back at certain moments. He had to come out the game. with about like 5 minutes into the third quarter just to, stretch out his back. He was doing that Steve Nash lying on the sideline thing, which is really concerning. He was able to close out the game, but just wasn't as, emphatic and energy-wise. I think he just wasn't like 100%. You also saw Brandon Ingram limping into the stands after Trendon Watford drove it in for an and one. And Ingram, was slow. He had to come out the game on the free throw. They actually called the delay a game for him being too slow to come back to the bench, which is like, okay, come on, dude. Like, if the guy's not 100%, what are we talking about? That's not delay a game. The guy needs to take his time getting back because he's hurt. But when he got to the bench, like, there was this, like, quite frankly, like a very out of character move from Brandon Ingram because you don't really see him snap like that. But he, like, slammed the water bottle on the floor. And it happened to be at the same time when Scottie was stretching his back out on the floor. So not only did the water bottle, like, literally bounce hard off the floor and ricochet off a guy's face who was, like, one of the attendants. So apologies to that man on the Sixers, and we're sorry for that. But that even spilled on Scottie, and at one point they had to, like, stop the game a little bit to, like, clean up on the whole sideline. To be honest, I don't even know how he avoided a tech. I mean, that's way more of a violation than slowly coming off the court after, getting shoulder checked like that by Watford. But like there were these moments of frustrations, and yet like the Raptors kept fighting back. Like there were nice little stretches there. Collin Murray-Boyles was sensational in the first half, just making play after play after play. He had a lot of good plays in the second half as well, but just didn't seem to feature as much. I thought IQ was really consistently a force for the team. And it was weird because like the team doesn't really feature Quickley, but in certain games, I'm like, why didn't it feature Quickley? Because like today, Quickley actually had a lot of things going for them. He was knocking down a three with confidence. He was getting to the rim. Almost seemed like a personal battle between him and Tyrese Maxey. The two of them were teammates at Kentucky, and they've been often compared to each other. And of course, Maxey's the better player. There's no doubt. But there were even moments where I thought like Maxey was kind of bullying Quickley. There was a play where Quickley drove, turned the corner, tried to get to the rim for a layup, and Maxey met him at the basket and blocked him and kind of talked a little trash to him. That's all friendly. I mean, you know Maxey's demeanor. He's he's a great competitor, but he's also like really friendly. But I thought Quickley was toughed up, and he like played better after that point, and he had a couple nice plays for the team. I thought Scottie like just sacrificing his body basically, going out there and wrestling against Embiid. I mean, it almost reminded me of 2022 playoffs in his rookie year when the Raptors made the playoffs in the first round. They played the Sixers. And the Raptors didn't have a matchup for Embiid that season, and so it was Scottie having to guard Embiid, and of course Embiid, stopping Scottie's like breakout game in the playoffs in game one, where he like stepped on his ankle, and Scottie was never the same basically in that series after that. But him having to wrestle a man 100 pounds heavier, I mean, Jamal Shed coming in there and taking on the task of trying to guard against Maxey, like that's not easy, and it felt like a miracle every time Maxey missed, basically. But he had the step back going, he had the pull up three, the quickness to cut downhill in transition. I mean, he was just doing a great job of getting on and off the ball. Maxey starting to remind me a little bit of like Donovan Mitchell, but like a little bit smaller than Donovan, but basically the same player. Donovan maybe doesn't go to the rim as much. Donovan shoots a three a little bit more, but both guys super, super deadly all-star caliber guards. Probably the two, well, along with Brunson, like the best guards in the Eastern Conference. And seeing their impact was just like relentless. Like when they got off the ball, I thought Maxey was even more dangerous when he got off the ball. But I thought Jamal like really tried to fight hard and scrap. And again, like this game was just quite scrappy. And the Sixers, by all means, they definitely like deserved to win this game. They played better. They had a lot of great performances. Pretty much everybody from the starting five played great. Like Kelly Oubre, I thought even had a really big impact in this game with his physicality. He kind of like won the battle against Brandon Ingram, which certainly you would favor Brandon in that one. But I thought Oubre's physicality made life difficult for Brandon in a lot of moments, made him pick it up and shoot it from deeper out. And yet, like the Raptors were in there, and again, like the bench made a good contribution. Sandro, Collin, Jamal, those have been the guys that have been contributing off the bench like all season. And, to see the three of those guys, give you the type of efforts they gave you, like it allowed the Raptors to sort of be in this game. But putting aside all the excuses, and again, like I'm not even excuses, I think just circumstances, right? Like these people are human beings. You could see second half of back-to-back against the rest of the team, you're going to have a hard time, right? And the size mismatches, all that's there. But if I were to just sort of like talk about sort of the areas in which the Raptors needed to improve, and if they were to win a game like this in the future, I think a couple of things. Number one, it's starting to bother me now how these big physical wings are just kind of like, having their way against the Raptors. Um, and I'm not necessarily talking about like explosive 30-point performances or anything like that, but similar to how it bothered me when Harrison Barnes was able to just like straight line drive and go to the rim and score against the Raptors, or when PJ Washington was able to do that against the Raptors. In this game, Trendon Watford with a couple plays where he's the keeper, where he's trying to do dribble handoffs, but he's keeping the dribble alive. And when the Raptors guards are like fighting like crazy to deny the ball from these hyper athletic guards like Maxey and Edgecombe, then the play is supposed to break down, but the Raptors were bailing them out by allowing Watford to then turn the corner, hit spin moves, and go to the rim. And I'm putting that on Brandon Ingram and I'm putting that on RJ Barrett because, to be honest, Scottie Barnes is fighting for his life down there against Joel Embiid and having to play out of position at center. So when that's happening, if he's going to do that, then I need the other guys to be able to guard Trendon Watford. And the physicality battle on the wing should not be something the Raptors have to lose all the time. It's not like RJ Barrett is small for a shooting guard. It's not like Brandon Ingram is small for a small forward. That level of compete just has to come up from both of those guys. And I understand. It's not going to have a back-to-back difficult circumstance, I hear it. But like a lot of this game was lost on the fact that they couldn't control the second chances from Kelly Oubre and Trendon Watford. And there's a physicality battle, not only allowing guys to drive to the rim, but allowing these guys to get offensive rebounds. Like there were sequences, and like, you know what, you don't have a backup center, so you're playing smaller. The Sixers have two of the biggest centers in the league, and Embiid and Andre Drummond. So like obviously you're gonna give up some possessions, but there was plays where like the Raptors gave up like there's a play where Drummond eventually got a putback. I swear the Sixers got like 5 offensive rebounds on the same play. You know what I mean? Like that to me is something where that physicality battle just needs to be met. Like one of the things that's difficult about playing Division 6-9 is that you just have to, cope with the fact that you might be undersized out there, but you can kind of overcome it a little bit with, in terms of if your wings are physical like that. And today, say what you want about how brilliant Embiid was, 29 points in 26 minutes, or Tyrese Maxey with another 31 points, in his 43 minutes. Obviously, ho-hum, Nick Nurse going to play Tyrese Maxey 43 minutes. But, like, the battle was lost because of the fact that they couldn't contain Watford and Oubre. And a lot of that is just physicality. It's not like these guys are shooting lights out from 3 and, and crossing you up on the perimeter and all that kind of stuff. No, it's just, like, the physical toughness at the rim and guarding these guys and embracing that challenge wasn't quite there, And I think, again, like, there's just not really, a need to lose that matchup, regardless of the circumstance. Now, of course, the other part, too, for me, I think I would have really liked to see more out of is just the Raptors, this, like, the young shooting guards on this team. And, of course, the Raptors have spent the last 2 seasons drafting shooting guards. Grady Dick, 3 drafts ago, Jakob Poeltl, last draft. They even added Jamison Battle through the undrafted market, which ultimately turned out to be quite good. They didn't really play him. They also traded for Ochai Agbaji in 2023 in a trade deadline deal, which also brought Kelly Olynyk to the Raptors. So they've been looking to upgrade that shooting guard position. Today, that was like a huge letdown, right? First off, Darko deciding to use Ochai Agbaji as the fill-in starter for Jakob Poeltl. I just didn't quite understand that. Like, I mean, okay, I understand it in theory, in the sense that, okay, you're gonna need somebody to be in the game to guard against Tyrese Maxey, and you don't trust Quickley or RJ to do that job, which, quite frankly, sure, why not? Those guys aren't strong on-ball defenders, especially against, again, a superstar guard like Maxey. So you put in Ochai to do the job. However, I'll have to say, Ochai is low on confidence right now. Even watching warm-ups and stuff, it feels like he's lost a little bit of that touch and that rhythm where he had it last season, where he got to the point where he got to be a pretty reliable corner 3-point shooter. He's not really doing much of that, even in warm-ups these days. I think he's just, like, losing a bit of the touch. And then, considering the fact that, like, okay, so last game against Atlanta, Ochai doesn't even come in, right? Like, he's been out the rotation, basically, the last 2 games. So you go from that to, like, you're going to start, and then you're going to start against, like, the hottest player in the league. It's just a difficult thing. Now, of course, he's a professional, so part of that's on his job. So, like, I understand Darko putting the trust in him. Now it's on the player to deliver. And I'm not going to shit on him because it's a difficult situation to be in. But at the same time, okay, those are the margins, right? You know what? If anything, he's rested. And he's like, and you need to come in and do a big job. You got a big opportunity. Like, the coach is putting a big, big trust in you. my thing with Ochai is just he's not really a factor offensively, right? Like he's trying to be a cutter offensively, or be going out in fast breaks, or in hitting corner threes. Those are like the most simple system generated pieces of offense available, right? So even though last year was efficient in that role, you give almost anybody that shot diet, they should be efficient in that role, right? Like it's not as impressive as somebody who's able to create more of their own offense. But that's okay if you can do that defensively, because if you're a big impact defensively, then it doesn't really matter if you're like an efficient fifth option just mopping up on open plays. Like PJ Tucker has been in the league for like 50 years, right? So, but defensively, this is one of the things with Ochai is I don't really feel the impact of him defensively. Like he's kind of a defender in principle. He's like kind of in the right position. He's mostly in the right positions. He's responsible, but he doesn't really disrupt anything that goes on. And you might say, okay, today it's a difficult matchup. Maxi's a guard. Ochai, maybe not be as fast as him. Okay, that's fine. But then Ochai also can't guard guys bigger than him either, right? So in a game like this, even though he started, I mean, Darko basically realized, okay, this was a mistake. And he started the first quarter, he started the second half, and that's it. He didn't really come into the game after that. 15 minutes played, 0 for 1 from the three-point line. Again, non-factor just across the board. So just kind of like a nothing from one of the starting 5 positions. However, the good thing is you do have other options off the bench. And you have Grady Dick, who has been playing better of late. And then you have Jakob Poeltl, who has not been hitting shots, but, his on-ball defense has usually been pretty good. To be fair to both of them, neither of them played well. I think that Darko tried both guys literally the same amount of minutes. Both guys got 11 minutes tonight. And what you saw from Grady, first off, was he was just forcing a little bit too much on offense. And the thing is, like, it's a really difficult line because, like, forcing it versus, like, just being aggressive on offense, like, it's really just, like, whether you make the shot or miss the shot. Except for when you look at the film and it's like, okay, again, this game was 1 or 2 possessions on a lot of it, some key moments. And when the game was a 3-point game, I caught myself thinking to like, okay, wait, when the Raptors are on a 3-on-1 fast break and Grady Dick decided to go and try a layup over Joel Embiid instead of passing it to one of his teammates on the fast break, it's like, that's not like, oh, you're, like make or miss league. That's like, you made a mistake league. You know what I mean? And like, there was a stretch there where he shot a quick 3. He tried to rip and try to go for a layup, but, he didn't take it strong enough, and he left it short on the rim, and each time the Sixers were running it back. And this is during a stretch where the Raptors had finally cut it down to, like, 1 or 2 possessions. And you needed, like, a sustained stretch from your second unit to carry you forward. And Grady there makes, like, 3 mistakes offensively in a row, each time with a live ball basically going back the other way, and the Sixers are able to instantly bump that thing back up to 10 points. He doesn't see the rest of the game because of that stretch. Jacoby comes in. Listen, I feel like for Jacoby, I'm looking at a player that's starting to lose his confidence a little bit. And that to me is a bit of a concern. It's natural because he's not getting playing time, right? He started the season basically out the rotation. It's hard to be like an 11th man or a 10th man in this scenario. It's genuinely difficult, right? And so, started the season, Darko decided, okay, the 2 guys I'm going to go with are Ochai and Grady, right? Now, because Ochai has been struggling, we're going to go to Jacoby a little bit. But the thing is, Jacoby, if you look at his game logs, like 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, you know what I mean? Like, it's not been great. The thing is, when he comes in the game, I'm just seeing, like, a player not confident. It's not necessarily that he didn't shoot the ball, because he did take 6 shots in 11 minutes. He went 1 for 6, just like how Grady went 1 for 6. However, my thing was just, it didn't really feel like he was a confident player based on the type of shots he was taking and the reads that he was taking. Sometimes he was going too weak to the rim. Sometimes he was taking, too aggressive of shots. He was turning down open threes as well. Some of them I saw him leaning into it. It just didn't really feel like a player that was super aggressive. Now, granted, a lot of players struggle in their second season, and a lot of players would struggle just being put in this spot where I feel like Jacoby probably started his whole career in high school, certainly in college. Last season, he came off the bench, but he started the season slow as a rookie. And then towards the end of the year, he was starting a lot of games, getting a consistent 20, 25 minutes, no problem. He's not going to get that in this instance because of the way the Raptors have upgraded the roster. And, of course, the Raptors aren't tanking anymore and they're healthier. But he still needs to come in and play with confidence. In the sense of Grady, I felt like he was too confident, and that led to some, bad sequences. In some of the cases with Jacoby, I thought he was, like, not confident enough, and led to him missing the shot even mentally before he even got into the type of shots he was taking. It's a difficult situation, and admittedly, this is something we could have seen coming because, as early as training camp, I was asking Darko about this. Like, you got a lot of options at shooting guard. Who's going to win it, right? We interviewed Jacoby one-on-one. We talked about the progress he made over the summertime, but I haven't asked him, like, do you think you're going to be able to get minutes in this sort of spell? And he's like, obviously, I'm going to try to win it and try to beat, he's open to the competition. More recently, as when the regular season started, I asked Darko before the game once, like, you got a lot of backup shooting guards right now. At one point, Ochai, Grady, and Jacoby were all coming off the bench. Which one of those are you going to choose? And he said it's difficult to sort of keep them all sort of in mind. I'm going to try it. But, like, in this situation, I almost feel like it's harder because you kind of just have to, like, pick two and then just, like, run with it. And, like, keep the roles, like, really consistent. Keep the spots in the rotation really consistent because, for these young guys, like, I don't know if they have that sort of, like, locked-in mentality to come in all the time and just impact. Now, granted, I know what people are probably already saying right now in the chat, which is like, well, there's one more shooting guard you're not even mentioning here in Jamison Battle. How come every time the Raptors put in Jamison Battle, he doesn't have the issues that these other guys have in terms of the consistency, in terms of the mindset and coming in and locking in? And I think it's totally fair. Like, that's a very fair question. Because if you're Darko, you're like, well, yes, I've actually have a breaking case of emergency guy in Jamison who bailed out the Raptors in the NBA Cup in Cleveland, where he didn't miss a shot game. And then even last night against Atlanta, Battle doesn't play until the fourth quarter when he comes in. And even though, the Raptors didn't find Battle that much, he had an open three, he missed it, whatever, but he wasn't taking many shots, but he made a good impact defensively. He got in there for like 2 steals and he was a plus 11 in the 6 minutes. How come Battle didn't get his chance? Or rather, how come Battle just doesn't get to play even though he's been contributing? In that sense, I understand from Darko's perspective because he already is juggling too many shooting guards. And it's like, how come you're not playing this extra shooting guard to add to this problem? But there has to be some sort of clarity. And honestly, some of it too is just like, it's got to get clarified by the front office a little bit. It's not really tenable to bring this many players of the same profile off the bench. And they have slightly different like skill sets. Like, Grady obviously is more offensively adept than all of these guys. Battle's probably the most consistent shooter. Jacoby is probably the best on-ball defender of the three, but, probably the least consistent offensively. Ochai just kind of, like, Ochai, when you bring him in the game, it's like when you bring in Aaron Loop out of the bullpen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not expecting too much. Probably 2 fly balls, a single, and maybe a ground out kind of thing. Like, it's just unspectacular. So, like, I get it. The options are tough because ideally you had, let's say, an extra big on the bench that you can throw into this scenario, or somebody more reliable, maybe with more veteran experience. That you can turn to, even a young vet like Sandro, we've seen the effect that he can have coming into the team. You know what I mean? Like, if you can advance the timeline a little bit. But ultimately, like, that was a difficulty thing. And then I think, honestly, the third thing for me is just like, if you knew you're going to play the Sixers and you don't have Jakob Poeltl, why don't you go back to the starting lineup you had before Jakob Poeltl was out, right? Because Jakob missed like 3 games in a row with the back issues, and that's or 2 games, I think. And that's when Collin Murray-Boyles got the start. And I get it. Like, it's Embiid, right? Do you really want to have Collin Murray-Boyles, square up against Joel Embiid? But, like, why not? I mean, look, is Ochai really a better option? Like, at some point, you got to trust that, like, IQ can, like, at least do something defensively against Maxey. Maybe Maxey kills him the whole game. Who knows? That probably would have happened if you took Ochai out. But Ochai wasn't stopping no Tyrese Maxey. Towards the end of the game, it wasn't Ochai in the game to stop Maxey. It was Jamal Shead, right? So you already had that. And then the other part for me is just like, maybe you put a little bit more size into the game. Now, granted, there's size off the Sixers bench as well, because you saw what Drummond would do off the glass. But, like, I wouldn't have minded to see just like a little bit more help across the board where you have Collin in the game. And of course, a lot of this could be just like, okay, well, you got the benefit of just like chilling a podcast and you're talking about the loss instead of preparing for the game. But I mean, even still, it's like, even just logically, if you're going to play the Sixers and you don't have your biggest player, maybe insert the next biggest player rather than like going even smaller on the team. So again, like, it's not a bad game at all. Like, they fought really hard. They scrapped like crazy, and they got in a position where you can even feel like, maybe can we steal this at the end? But I do think that like they could tighten up a couple of things, and I think you can always take more out of losses and out of wins. For me, my takeaways are how to get better after a game like this is the wings got to do a better job. RJ, Brandon, those guys got to play tougher. I know it's not necessarily in their personalities because their scores doesn't matter. Be 2-way players, right? Those 2 guys need to play tougher because I thought they lost their wing matchup tonight. Number two, I think that they got to figure out some sort of consistency with the shooting guard position, especially off the bench. They're cycling through everybody, and honestly, none of the three that they've been trying have really worked. And the one guy who's been playing well didn't even get a chance to play. And then the third thing is just, I really wish they if they did this a little bit differently. I really wish they had Collin to start with the starting five, because honestly, part of this is not even on Darko. Part of this is just I was really impressed with the way Collin played. I mean, Collin to me had stretches of brilliance in this game. You know, when he came off the bench, you know, him, Mamu, Jamal have been, you know, doing a good job together. But like seeing how disruptive he was, seeing how aggressive he was going to the basket. I mean, he had a play where the Raptors have been touting the whole ball pressure thing. We're going to like press the ball. And like, honestly, I prefer that against weaker ball handlers. Like, you know, am I going to press Tyrese Maxey? No, because you don't go for it or you get too close to him. Like, what's the point of pressing Maxey 40 feet from the rim? You're just giving him a launching pad to get downhill, right? But like against weaker ball handlers, when it was like Watford or Oubre bringing it up, seeing CMB go in there and strip the ball in the open court, it just rip a veteran. It was really impressive to see CMB rotate at the basket and stuff Tyrese Maxey going in for a dunk was really impressive. To see Collin, you know, confidently knock down the outside three was great. You know, seeing him, you know, attack a closeout, use the low crossover, bump shoulder, and then go into the rim was great. The only thing he didn't do all today was make free throws. 3 of 6 from the foul line, you know. But honestly, for the rookie, like he was awesome. You know, there was a stretch there where he stops that don't even go in the box score. Like one play where he like somebody drove and I think he was maybe in the corner or something, but he like got a hand to the ball and just like disrupted it just slightly. So the guy had to like bobble and then go up for the layup last second, and he shanked the layup. And he complained about a foul call, but it wasn't a foul. And it's just like, that's a stop, but it doesn't even count as anything. Another play where there was at the end of the first quarter when the Sixers had the last possession and they got it out to the wing where, again, Collin was disrupting the play and he tipped it out of bounds and he got a deflection with 2 seconds left and the Sixers had to re-inbound the ball and start over. It's like, those are huge plays that are genuine stops, but they don't go in the box score. Collin did a lot of that stuff. And honestly, like, I walk out of this game just like really impressed with, once again, the level of disruption that Collin's been able to play with. And the only thing I wish he played more than 22 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, he played 22 minutes tonight. He got 3 fouls. Like, you know, what would it have looked like if he was in the starting five? Maybe that frees up Scottie to then, you know, play help defense a little bit more, to not have to like soak up so much energy and fouls, to have to like wrestle with Embiid, and then like maybe he does a better job. I mean, he definitely would do a better job against like Oubre or Watford, matching their physicality. You know what I mean? Like it could have just been a different game, really, if they went with a different approach. But alas, they took their shot, and they made a game of it. And quite frankly, I really wasn't expecting the win anyway. So I'm still really proud of the ultimate effort that this team sort of put in, but it just wasn't enough. And honestly, credit to the Sixers too, because they looked great, man. Like, you know, I think a healthy version of the Sixers, which is kind of like this like mythical floating idea of like if the Sixers can ever get healthy. But the way Maxey's been playing, you know, I think Edgecombe is like clearly a spark plug for them. He should probably be like a 6 man for them, but man, he's got like a crazy skill set just off the athleticism alone. The fact that this is going to be his floor is kind of amazing to see. You know, like a Watford, you know, Grimes, like these are solid bench guys for them, you know, once they become in the bench. And then like if they ever get Paul George to, you know, whatever level, if they get Embiid to whatever level, like, you know, like obviously there was a reason to be excited by this team. When they were formed last year, everyone was thinking maybe they will challenge for the East, and obviously it blew up in their faces and they end up tanking and getting the 3rd pick. But like, yeah, I mean, they got some nice players over there, and yeah, you know, the Raptors have struggled against Philly as a matchup for a few seasons now, and yeah, today they couldn't beat them. So I'm gonna take a quick break. You're gonna hear from our sponsor, and I also want to hear afterwards from you guys. Please leave your questions in the chat. And, you know, we'll get to as many of those as possible as we chill and hang out on a Saturday night in the association.
This segment is presented by Table Fare and Social. Get your pregame bites and after-work drinks at Table. It's at a great location right across the street from Scotiabank Arena and just steps away from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal. Will, what are we having at Table Fare and Social?
Well, they got one of our favorites in the city, Alouette.
Ooh.
And of course, you know Alouette. Incredible food.
The wedge salad?
The wedge salad, exactly. Imagine you're about to watch a Raptors game, you're about to watch a Leafs game, you're about to catch a concert at Scotiabank, and beforehand, we get together, get a couple of drinks at Alouette, get that salad. We're ready for anything, man.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of options at Table Fare and Social. This is your go-to spot. Next time you're off to a game, check out Table Fare and Social, a downtown food hall right across from the arena for some great pregame bites and drinks.
Okay, welcome back. Appreciate you guys for leaving your questions in the chat. I'm gonna take a little bit more time here, just to collect a little bit more of your questions from the chat, especially the ones in the earlier ones. I feel like I should help. I feel like I should reward people who like come in early and really get their questions in early. I feel like that's the time where I don't have the opportunity to sort of like, scour for questions. So I'm going to go a little bit earlier. Everyone's just crashing about Trendon Watford. Yeah, man. Watford was kind of nuts. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's get let's get a couple of things. Okay. Get a couple more questions here. Okay, let's race through a whole bunch of these because yeah, this one's interesting actually. So young honey young honey would have been crazy. Sent in $2. I appreciate you. Can we please see another gear from Brandon Ingram? It feels like he never hit 30 piece in terms of the scoring. Okay, that actually is one of the things I noticed too. It's just like I still feel like we're seeing like maybe like a 65-70% Brandon Ingram. Like I actually kind of like that he got frustrated today because he's so smooth, he's so chill. But I do feel like, okay, so a lot of these when games get physical right now, he's kind of backing off of it right now. And whatever, like he's again coming off of injury. He missed the most time he had missed in his career last season. And the second half of back-to-back, and it's also for a veteran, this is game 9 or game 10 of the season, so I'm not expecting him to go like all out, but at the same time I do feel like there's something reserved for him, like the fact that he's missing a couple shots at the rim, or he's having to pull up a little bit shorter because he's like not as physical going to in these places. Like I don't know. I just don't feel like we're seeing like 100% or even close to it for Brandon right now. I think there's definitely more, and I'm be curious to see like if there's a ramp up over the course of the next couple of weeks and months, and just getting him to the point where like there is a little bit more than what we're seeing. I'm not unhappy with it. I think again, like he's smooth, and the last couple of games he's just been missing some open threes. And maybe that's been part of the frustration too, is obviously he knows he can make these threes, but he's been missing a couple of these open ones. But yeah, like I guess I'm keeping my eye on it is my question. So Grouty asks, why do we start Ochai over CMB? I mean, I really do think that it was just like the thought process was, okay, we have Ochai guard Maxey, and the thing is like, okay, one of the other things with the Maxey matchup is like, okay, obviously you're going to anticipate a lot of like him playing pick and roll with like Embiid, or even in this case, like dribble handoffs with Trendon Watford. So you're like, okay, maybe I put a bigger guy on Maxey, force him to shoot over length, and then when they go into pick and roll, we can switch those. And have Scottie, who comes off of, Embiid and goes on to Maxey. You didn't really see much of that either, because Ochai, again, isn't really one of those guys either. Like, you don't really want Ochai on Embiid either. Obviously, a lot of that is just the talent of Maxey and Embiid to force all these mismatches, but I don't know. This almost felt like those, like, when Nick Nurse used to start, like, Patrick McCaw. And quite frankly, Pat McCaw was more disruptive defensively than Ochai. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I would have rather started bigger. And, obviously I'm not in Philadelphia right now to ask Darko about the decision to start Ochai instead of CMB. Maybe one of the reporters down there is asking that question. But, yeah, would have loved to get that one back because, I might have changed things. Really would have might have changed things. Another question or comment. This one from Mel. Mobo could have helped. Yeah, I mean, yes or no. I mean, again, like Mobo in terms of like the forgotten man. I mean, I don't think anyone's been more forgotten than Jonathan Mobo. Like, no one's even talked about this man since the start of the season. Like, you know, it's just I even heard his name even in off court conversations in terms of just like even talking to my friends or talking to the media members. Like nobody's mentioning Jonathan Mobo. Now Mobo was assigned to the 905. I believe he practiced with them, and I think he maybe played in yesterday's 905 game. That was in Toronto. Then he was called up, so he was with the team for Philadelphia in this one. But like, yeah, I mean, that's another interesting one, right? It's like, okay, maybe you want to like spot start somebody. Could you try maybe having Mobo in there for some more size? Mobo is a really good defender. I would say Mobo's a better defender than Ochai. Definitely more switchable. Offensively, kind of gives you even less, but maybe he helps you on the rebounding front. I actually don't know. To be honest, I think everyone could have seen that it was going to be a difficult season for Mobo as soon as they drafted Collin Murray-Boyles and then also signed Sandro Mamukelashvili. And they added Brandon Ingram basically in free agency because he didn't play last year. It's like those three guys are going to play in the same minutes that Mobo is going to play. So you're not going to see much of Mobo. But I also think matchup-wise, like there are some matchups, and especially when you have to play bigger teams. Mobo's a good rebounder. Again, he's a really good one-on-one defender. And if you're going to call him up, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you played last night. You got to hop on a red-eye flight to come over to Philadelphia. You're going to come play in that game. Not that anyone's going to be ungrateful to be called up from the G League to the NBA, but it's like, what do I even do that for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, clearly he wasn't even used in a game like this. So, yeah, he's a DNP or CD in this one. Speaking of the 905, a 905 could be incredible if half these guys use Mississauga as a chance to get some run. Yeah, actually, I agree, actually. I only got to catch like a couple of highlights, really, of the 905 performance from last night. But, yeah, I mean, from what I saw, like, Elijah Martin was knocking down threes. Chucky Hepburn had like 5 steals. Chucky's been consistently like really disruptive since we've seen him. AJ Lawson's obviously still in the mix for the Raps. I think he could do a job. And then I think Mobo's not bad either. You know what I mean? Mobo's not bad either. So like, I mean, especially if they send down Jacoby, which there might be a chance. Honestly, if they stay healthy like this, and if they keep one to say, okay, Ochai, like clearly they believe in Ochai to a degree, and to be fair to Ochai, he did play well last season, so it's not like he should lose all credibility after just like one summer. But, if you don't really, what's more productive for Jacoby's development? Is it playing him 10 minutes and seeing him lose his confidence? Or is it him playing 30 minutes with the 905 and building his confidence as like the number one guy? Like, I you know what I mean? Like, so the difficult thing is they actually have a lot of guards down there too, so not that I really necessarily care about matchups for G League games, but like they are simultaneously developing a lot of guards, right? Like, okay, let's say Jacoby goes down there. What's the 5 we're playing with out there? Like, is it Chucky, Elijah, AJ, Jacoby? Like, I mean, I guess that's what they did in summer league at points. So whatever, but yeah. Ochai for Pataze, I would love that trade. That would be an incredible trade. Yeah, that would be like that would actually, man. I got really excited to see that. I mean, obviously, actually, Goga. There's like a bit of a chemistry tie in there because Goga, and Mamu are the only 2 Georgian players in the NBA right now, I believe. Shouts to Shangalia, who I think he's been like a staple in Europe, but at one point he was drafted in the lotto by the Wizards. But yeah, like I think Goga would be huge. He's a nice passer as well, good rim protector. And Orlando has a ton of centers. I think obviously with Mo Wagner injured for the season, you're probably gonna have a harder time getting them. But I mean, why not? That would be like a great trade for me. I would be more than happy to do that. Is his contract bad? I'll look at his contract. Hold on. He's making $8 million this year. Okay, so that actually put the Raptors deeper into the luxury tax, instead of taking them away from it, which is a little difficult. So it might have to be a 2-for-1 type of trade. But yeah, like that would be the type of player I'd be looking to get for Ochai. So Zolfi also says, can y'all read my recap of the 905 game on RR? Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Let's do that right now. Hold on. let's read what happened in the 905 game. All right, 905 Raptors 905 follow big club's lead in season opening win versus Skyhawks. Yeah, I'll drop a link in the chat. We're not gonna read it together, but if you guys are curious about the 905, no one covers it better than the team at Raps Republic, man. Okay, couple more questions here. It's time to really critique the bad decisions of this new front office. The Jakob extension a year early for that price for that year's range was bad and is aging worse than Yak's back. Okay, was the extension a little bit premature? I would say, like, yeah, they could have waited. I mean, I don't necessarily think that, you know, I don't know. It's not like, I mean, I can never imagine Jakob Poeltl being like, okay, if you don't give me the extension, like, I'm out, or I'm gonna try to explore my options. Like, Jakob's like such a steady, consummate pro that I can't imagine that, right? You could have certainly waited. I think part of the decision to extend Jakob was like, okay, last year he was like a good soldier for you. You like, obviously mess around with the minutes, and I think long-term wise, like, I think they still see Jakob as being productive in that stretch. Him developing a bad back, it's tough. It's certainly unfortunate. It's a bit unlucky, but of course you might argue the other way, which is like, a center, developing, nagging injuries in their 30s, like, could that happen? Sure. Jakob has been pretty healthy pretty much for his whole career, so it is also difficult to sort of like play the injury card. In any case, like, I think they just renegotiated 2 years of his deal, and then the last year of it's like partially guaranteed or like unguaranteed. So it's not that bad in my opinion, but it did feel like they kind of went out of their way to reward him. So make of that what you will. If it doesn't work out, you can definitely say, well, yeah, you could have waited. And honestly, I wouldn't disagree with you. You probably could have waited. What else? Trade one of the guards for a big. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea. I mean, the difficult thing, again, is just like the Raptors are like short, right? In terms of just like across the board. Like they could use some more height. But I think, yeah, they also need to trim a little bit off the money as well. So you need to trade like an Ochai who makes like, I think, $6 million this year. Ideally for a big that makes like $4 million. That's kind of tough, But who knows? I mean, yeah, who knows? Watford's got to be the next Gerald Henderson. That was an insane game. Yeah, honestly, Trendon Watford, he had some nice moments, in Portland, in Brooklyn, but the way he played tonight, that had to be the best game of his career, man. That was awesome. And I do like these like smart, versatile ball handling, like bulky kind of bigs. Like he kind of played like, I mean, honestly, like he kind of played like a CMB type of game today, with the way he operated, and the fact that the Sixers just picked him off the scrap heap, it is a credit to Daryl Morey, who does do a good job of always filling on his roster with like random guys. So, Jay Huff, Ochai for Jay Huff. I mean, I don't really see why the Pacers would be interested in that. But what is Jay Huff making? Yeah, I guess I wouldn't mind Jay Huff. One of my concerns is actually, it's like, okay, yes, we get more size on the team. I don't think that's an issue. What's Jay Huff's making? Jay Huff's making what? He's making $2 million? 2.3? Really? How's he making $2 million a year for the next 3 years? What kind of agent does he have? Okay, anyway. But yeah, like one of the things I am thinking about too is just like, okay, the Raptors offensively look really good right now whenever they move their wings up a position. So CMB sort of playing center and being in pick and rolls, that's what really got him going. Sandro being the small ball 5, I think he's been really able to sort of use his versatility there. I actually don't think Sandro will be bad as a 4 or a 3, because he can use his size and sort of flip the size mismatch on other guys. And then even Scottie, I thought, has done a good job in terms of just like being activated. Like today, for example, Scottie's getting guarded by Joel Embiid. Embiid's like not even moving. Embiid's like, saving all his momentum, like energy for offense. He's, sitting back. He's kind of scaring guys with his presence, but realistically, he's like backing off guys. And so Scottie's just able to shoot like pretty much uncontested some of these, right? So that actually does help his offense, not hurt his offense, getting guarded by Embiid in this state. So, if you bring in a center, like, yes, like it does help you size wise. These guys don't have to, battle as much. And I think over the course of an 82 game season, it's much more preferable to have big bodies to take some of these blows rather than putting extra miles on smaller guys having to fight. But at the same time, I do think it hurts you offensively a little bit. Now, granted, like if you have a spacing five like Huff, maybe you just stick him in the corner and it's okay. But anyway, I do wonder. In any case, if the Raptors wanted Jay Huff, they could have just signed Jay Huff, right? The guy was like literally available. Like again, I can't believe this guy's making 2.5 the next 3 seasons. It's kind of absurd. So, yeah. Ochai for Jalen Smith. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't mind. Jalen Smith doesn't really do much though. And he kind of looks like that character from Squidward with the glasses. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I look, especially with the way he's been playing, I just don't think we're going to be in for a very explosive trade deadline. I do think that somebody will get moved for the Raptors to get under luxury tax, and I do think the most likely scenario is Ochai. Is that guy. But based on the way he's playing and based on sort of his career today, he's already been traded twice. Don't forget, he got traded after he was drafted. He got traded from Cleveland to Utah, and then he was traded from Utah to Toronto. It's not going to be a huge trade value on this thing, man. You know what I mean? Like, usually you trade for a guy like this because you want his bird rights or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if people are, like, slamming down the door right now to get his bird rights. What other questions we got, man? Any word on Shamshay? Yeah, oh yeah, I saw this question as well. Hold on, someone else asked it earlier from G. Question, Shamshay was at the 905 game. What are the chances that he comes back to the Raptors and would help in games like this? I think it's really unfortunate. So again, like no one's like, I don't have word on like what the specific medical condition Ulrich Shamshay is dealing with. We know obviously he's away. Basically, he's not on the team anymore because he's on some sort of medical issue that's going to prevent him from playing basketball. And I think that it'll be enough of an absence that it doesn't really make sense to tie up one of the roster spots, in this case a two-way contract, on a player that's not going to play basically for the season. And so number one, first and foremost, I feel really bad for Ulrich Shamshay. Like, this guy's still 19 years old. He's in a foreign country. He did do a good job developing, but even you could tell, like, personality wise, he's still so young. He's still like so fresh faced. And yeah, like the fact that he's like not able to play in the league right now due to like a medical concern. And again, I'm not even curious about what the medical concern is. Like, at this point, we have to draw a line somewhere in terms of just like, okay, obviously we're interested in these players. Everyone wants more information, but at a certain point, we're talking about a kid who's like not able to physically play right now. That's really difficult to hear about, right? It's also, I think, a legal issue as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, whatever. So there's a whole bunch of things, but the fact that he's still in Toronto, I think, is a good sign. I think that like if he's able to stay close in the one area that he really knows, like again, like he's not like a regular prospect. He's not some American kid or some Canadian kid. Like he doesn't have a big support system either. Like the Raptors were his support system, right? So like again, on a personal level, I'm happy he's able to stick around. And more than anything else, I really hope that he's able to, overcome and fix whatever issue that he has medically. I'm sure the NBA and even the Raptors will help and assist in that front. And once he's able to come back, I'm hoping that, obviously he'll be a free agent at that point. So similar to the Christian Koloko situation, Koloko ultimately chose to go to the Lakers, which, whatever. I mean, I think Koloko also had like family in California, and he was like Clutch Sports as well. So he had like more people, I would say, in California, even though the Raptors definitely believed in Christian. Obviously it hasn't really worked out for Christian, but again, like you're going to play with LeBron or Luka, like it's not, and you're playing with the Lakers, like, career wise is probably a better decision. But in any case, like, yeah, it's just, I just hope the best for Ulrich, like whether he's able to come back and ultimately put this behind him and be a healthy Raptors player again, is a secondary concern for me, man. On a human level, like I just hope he's good. That's all. So, what's with their unluckiness with the Raptors and their drafted centers? I don't know, actually. I really don't know, man. I don't know. And we also just straight up don't draft centers, right? So I guess we could have used like the mobile pick, the 31. They maybe could have brought a big in. I forget what the shape of the draft. I think at that time, and again, this is not hindsight, but like you can even go back. I remember talking to Sam Vecini. It was like 31st pick, like who the Raptors should they get? And we were talking a lot about AJ Mitchell. That would have been really nice, man. AJ Mitchell would be a real difference maker on this team. Or even this year, for example, at 37. Like I liked Elijah. I still like Elijah. He hasn't even had his chance to play that much yet. But even around that time, like there were a couple bigs on the board at that point too, right? So I don't know. I mean, the Raptors always draft best player available. So maybe the best player available has always just been wings recently. Remember when Masai tried to sell us that Precious or Christian Koloko are the answer? Yeah, they're not the answer, man. But were you not excited when Christian knocked down a couple threes? I think there was a game against Phoenix where he knocked down a late three to help clinch it, and I was really excited for him. And I remember talking to his coaches at Arizona. We were interviewing them and sort of what they talked about with Christian's development. Like, I thought Christian was going to be a good piece for them, man. He's a good shot blocker. Raps played a lot of zone. There was a game where they beat Portland, I believe, where they played this like zone, this like kind of crazy like Precious, Chris Boucher, and Christian Koloko zone in the back line where I'm like, they could basically extend the arms and link, end to end. Yeah. And then Precious was hyped for a little bit. I'm not even going to lie to you. Precious was genuinely pretty hyped. That first season he got here, he found a rhythm, started shooting the threes. He had this like powerful, I mean, he is a very powerful guy, but like this like power, handler type of game. And he was able to rebound the hell out of the ball. He had like a 20 rebound game at one point. And yeah, like when he had a game against the Sixers where he hit like 5 threes. And the funny thing is every time Precious gets signed, like when he got to the Knicks via that trade with OG, I saw that video I made where Precious Achiuwa knocks down 5 threes against the Sixers. It started getting traction. And then after Precious went back to the Heat at the start of the season, I think for training camp, I saw people dig up that video and start retweeting again. So, I don't even need I don't even need Shams to tell me that Precious is signed somewhere. I could just look at my notifications and see people discovering the one shiny moment of Precious as a shooter at least. But yeah, Precious had some good moments. I mean, I guess I wouldn't hate. I mean, okay, I definitely don't want Precious back, but it wouldn't even be terrible to bring him in, I guess. But I don't know. That is tough. That is tough. Yeah, there we go. Someone said, yeah, I remember Will said he liked AJ Mitchell during last year's draft coverage. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm not a draft expert. I sometimes just watch the video and I like certain guys. Like I like Derek Queen a lot this year too in the draft. And watching the last couple of games by the Pelicans, where they were actually able to get a couple of wins. That footwork, that skill set from Derek Queen, man, I just like watching that type of player, man. He's very skilled. I'm obviously very happy with CMB. I would have drafted CMB over Derek Queen as well. Just in terms of just like pure talent, in terms of like their overall production. But yeah, Derek Queen's nice, man. He's DQ's been fun. But everyone has their like the fun pet projects in the draft. No one's gonna come around and talk about the times that, like you liked a guy and they turn into nothing. Like I also liked Kobe Buffkin, and that didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? I like Keontae George a lot that year too. I guess he hasn't really done like winning much for Utah, but that kid can score, man. That kid is just electric off the bounce. So yeah, everyone has like little pet projects in the draft. You know what I mean? So I hate being one of those people that like come in and like, I knew this guy was this. Like, no, you didn't, man. Like, first off, you watched some YouTube videos. You might have gone the extra step and did the stats. You might have gone the extra step and found like college film and watched some of that. But like the level in which like the NBA guys, like they scout these guys in high school, they get to know them personally, they talk to their coaches, they physically attend practices that nobody else sees. Like, come on, man. That's the part where I do find it really funny. It's like, okay, you might have been right, but the process, you might like, you know what I mean? It's like the broken clock is right twice a day type of thing. What else? Brandon Carlson could have been the answer. Yeah, I guess we did have Brandon Carlson too. Shouts to him, man. The guy had a really good year. I was super happy for Brandon because after he got cut by the Raptors, he goes to the Thunder, which whatever. Obviously, they win a bunch of games. But little known fact is like the deeper you go in the playoffs, you get what is known as a playoff share. So, and every player on the roster gets the same share. So Shea gets the same share as Brandon Carlson, And I believe after winning the championship, I think it's an extra, basically a bonus of like 500K, which for a two-way player like Brandon, he probably only made, or Braden, he probably only made like 500K originally in salary. So he basically got his salary doubled by ending up on a championship team. Like that's, yeah, good for him, man. Yeah. Another question, does it seem like BI, unless he's getting a play set call for him out of the read and react plays, he's getting the bailout passes on last second reads? Seems like he's open and the ball misses him. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I honestly think that there's other moments where I think he could work a little bit harder to get to the ball or even demand it. I think the teammates are looking for him. Like, it's not like they're not looking for him. Like, it's like anytime a player gets a chance to make an extra pass to BI, I feel like they're doing it. I think the thing for Brandon right now is when guys really dig in and they're physical and he's trying to get downhill against these guys, making the right read, because obviously he has the ultimate counter with the turnaround and the mid-range jumper, and he's literally shooting at the best rate for mid-range of anybody in the league, and he did well today in the mid-range too. But there are moments where it's like, okay, there's a second defender coming, and if he makes the extra pass, like there is like, I think he's probably shooting a little bit too much off some of these drives versus like trying to swing the ball a little bit. But at the same time, he also doesn't have the ball nearly as much as he had it in New Orleans, right? So a lot of the stuff is for him coming off of movement, and they'll set plays. I think they've done a good job of like A, finding Brandon, but B, also Brandon scoring off of those. I do feel like when the offense gets more loose and more ragged, that's not finding him as nearly as much in the chaos of it all. But it's weird. Like, I don't know, like today, for example, Quickley was hot, but they didn't really find Quickley that much either. He kind of just got his offense like randomly in transition or like off of broken plays. So, like that favors a guy like RJ, who's always able to score on broken plays no matter what. Like, didn't even mention RJ at all, but RJ still had 22 points on 7 of 12 shooting. Like, you can never hold RJ down. But yeah, it's a tough one. So, Phoenix says, how much of a black mark is it on Masai's tenure not making that maxi deal because he wanted Tybo as well? I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, look, obviously, like I wasn't as tapped into the front office of 2011. I'm not pretending like I'm tapped in the front office right now either. I'm just saying, like, I really didn't have like any connections at that point. Well, any tangible, like substantial, like credible ones that I was willing to report. And yeah, I mean, I guess it was kind of like I guess Windhorse, I think, reported that. I don't know, man. I kind of refuse to believe it, to be honest. I think at that time, I don't think Kyle really wanted to go to Philly. I think if I remember that correctly, Kyle really, like, okay, so you remember the Raptors were in Tampa, so they're already in Florida. I knew the Raptors were in trouble because, like, never in Toronto did I see Kyle Lowry driving his Ferrari around. But then when they were in Tampa, they would do these like open gym, like walk into the tunnel shots, and guys are coming in the parking lot, and Kyle's like whipping a Ferrari. I'm like, oh, okay. He probably really loves it down there in Miami, in Florida. And then lo and behold, he ends up signing in Miami. The Raptors at that time were like really, really trying to get Kyle to the situation he wanted to go to. So they were only going to be willing to trade him to places he was willing to go. Of course, like Philly was home and Philly needed a point guard, but I don't think Philly really wanted. I don't think Philly were like earnest in the way that they really wanted to trade, because I think they were like, okay, if you want, what was Philly? Philly was demanding some crazy shit. Like, wasn't there that like viral clip that went around where like they were like they want Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby for like Ben Simmons or some? I don't even know. Like it was like kind of absurd, to be honest. I don't know. I don't think Daryl Morey and Masai have like actually made a tangible trade, right? So maybe there's just not like a great connection there. But in any case, like I just refuse to believe that like that deal's on the table and he just chose not to do it. I don't know. Maybe that's me putting too much of like a confidence in Masai in that sense, but I don't know. I never really got the sense that they were that close in the trade. I think again, Kyle really wanted to go to Miami. Miami really wanted to get Kyle. Jimmy Butler and Kyle are really close friends, and the Raptors really want to purchase Achua, which is a separate thing altogether. And they also really wanted to facilitate Kyle to get to the place he wanted to go to. So not to say you can't trade Kyle to Philly and Kyle can still go to Miami, but by signing and trading Kyle to Miami, they're able to get him extra years and more money. I don't know. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But no, even for my own sanity, I'm not saying that. Even for my own sanity, I don't really believe that this was ever on the table like that. So Yeah, I mean, I know. I trust me. Phoenix says Masai rejected an offer of Maxey, filler, and a first round pick, and countered with adding Tybalt plus another first round pick into that package. Um, like yes, I know that was the reporting. I don't know. Let me just say I don't personally believe that. So, you know, I don't think everything that's like hard reported out there is as certain as that. And I also don't think that like that doesn't even feel like a negotiation at that point. It's like, okay, we want you to add 2 more assets into this deal. It just didn't really feel right, you know what I mean, or adequate. So it didn't feel like, okay, they were really close, but they were haggling on 1 or 2 things. Like that's 2 pretty substantial things at that time. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, look. I know what you're talking about. I think Scotto and Windy, they're definitely closer to Maury, and I feel like Maury probably leaked that. In any case, why would Maury leak that to the media? Other than, you know, like, was he? I don't know. I don't know. It just I feel like that was from the Sixers side. That was from the Sixers side. So, okay. I feel like we're running out of steam a little bit. So let's should the Raptors work on in practice before the next game on Tuesday? What should they work on in practice, man? I actually don't know. Maybe more box out drills and stuff. It kind of really annoyed me seeing how easily the Sixers got offensive rebounds. Maybe it was just that one play where the Sixers got like 5 rebounds, man. It was crashing on a little bit. So, okay, that's it for the React Pod. Let me get to the 3 stars and we'll wrap it out. And we'll enjoy the rest of the weekend. 3 stars from tonight's performance. Okay, hold on. How do I remove the comment right now? Hide current comment. There we go. Yeah, okay. 3 stars from tonight's performance. First star, I'm going to give that to... I don't even know, man. Why not? Let's give it to Collin Murray-Boyles. Collin Murray-Boyles, 12 points, 7 rebounds, an assist, a steal, 2 blocks, 4 of 6 shooting from the field, knocked down his 3. All that in 22 minutes. Would have loved if he started, but you know, hindsight's 2020 type of thing. A second star, get that to IQ. I'm happy that IQ got back-to-back good games here. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, only 1 turnover, 8 of 16 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3. This kind of felt like a really balanced version of what Quickley should be doing out there. And I think, again, it dispels the notion that Quickley can only play well when Jakob's in the game. Jakob certainly helps Quickley a lot, but Quickley was able to get his game going and was super aggressive tonight. And then your third star, I'll give it to Scottie simply. Well, okay. Scottie deserves a third star. I'm not saying he didn't give it to him, but Scottie had to fight like crazy in this one. I mean, Scottie's had some bad matchups, and I'm actually, you know, it was interesting. We were at practice, and I think Eric Korean was working on probably a story where the angle was kind of like, you know, Scottie's help defense has been exceptional. He was coming off of 2 games where he had 6 stocks in both of them. And I think his question was like, hey, you know, when you're off the ball, like, what can you do? And Scottie kind of pushed back. He's like, no, I've been on the ball, man. I've been guarding Mobley. I've been guarding Jaren. I've been guarding Giannis. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, I totally agree with Scottie because he has been on the ball more than he's been off the ball. But in this one, being on the ball, having to wrestle Embiid, having to wrestle Andre Drummond, actually making a couple plays on those guys too. Scottie, 18 points, 7 of 14 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. If you've had Scottie Barnes in your team for this week for fantasy, you've been laughing because he's been excellent, especially with the steals and the blocks. But he keeps getting the hardest assignments, and I just hope his back is okay, man. That was I don't even think like there was a specific sequence I hurt his back. I think it was just like the cumulative stress of playing this game. And of course, Gerald Henderson award, it's got to go to Trendon Watford. 20 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists, 8 of 10 shooting, knocked down a 3 as well, got to the foul line 5 times. Was just massive. Like, this is genuinely the best game I've ever seen him play. A triple-double from Trendon Watford where he 20, 17, and 10. That's a Lucas stat line. That's not a Trendon Watford stat line. But, yeah, that was tough, man. Yeah, I hope Mamu's head is okay. Yeah, Mamu took a knee to the back of the head from VJ Edgecombe fighting for a loose ball. So, it's tough, man. Third star should be Matty D's right there. Yeah, the right there is real huge, man. Right there is real huge. Oh, I forgot about this too, actually. Somebody with a very sharp eye. Yosef Says, yo, that hat, that hello and welcome hat in the background, fire. Obviously, we have the classic one, which is the black and white one. This is the one that we, the monochrome version that we made from the Bobby Webster event. But we did also develop these as well. Shouts to Jerome Chang for coming up with the blue and red version of the logo, which we use quite a bit when we're doing those double react pods between when we covered Raptors games and also then watched the Jays. You know, in the World Series. And yeah, the logo is super clean, the red and the blue. Actually, this hat, it even kind of remotely fits me. You know what I mean? Like, you know, obviously the bill's a little, you know what I mean? Like, obviously I have a really wide face, but it does actually sit on my head. Like, you know, I'm actually pretty happy about this. So definitely love the hat. And when are we getting a toque/beanie? Listen, there's nothing more than Alex Drome want to do more than just make more merch. Okay. We got to figure out a way to actually sell the merch at some points. We've been giving away a lot of it too to our fans. I appreciate it, but yeah, appreciate you guys. And if you guys like the merch, let us know, and we'll actually put. To be honest, we just got to put together a real plan. You know what I mean? It's not even like people have given us good feedback on the merch. We just like never get around to actually planning how we're going to distribute these. So I appreciate you guys. It was a hard-fought game, but the Raptors lost. Now they're 5-5 on the season. They still have 3 more games on this road trip, so we'll see you when the Raptors play next. I believe they have 2 off days after this, so they will play again next on Tuesday when they play in Brooklyn. So that should be, I mean, knock on wood, but that should be an easier game. So hopefully we're able to just rest up and enjoy the rest of this weekend. And yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you guys. What else? What else is this? I'm looking at you, Norm, on the piano. Oh, that's GoDaddy. What happened to GoDaddy? Are they still sponsoring stuff? Maybe sponsor us. You know what I mean? So, okay. Thanks a lot for listening. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the weekend.